Charlie loved this country, and he loved partnering with organizations that truly stand for what makes America great. One of our most trusted partners, AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is doing something special in Charlie's honor. AMAC is offering free memberships to all ages. No credit card, no strings attached, just a chance to stand for faith, family, and freedom. Join this movement. Go to amac.us/Charlie today. That is amac.us/Charlie today. All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I am so excited about our next guest, and of course, I'm not gonna tease it out. This is the Vice President of the United States, folks. And I just want to start by saying, this whole story, this whole tragedy that we've been living through, a nightmare really. You and Usha have been just tremendous. And people, need to know we haven't asked for some of the things that you guys have done for Erica, for us. You've been out front, you've been offering, your team has been getting a hold of us, you've been calling, and I think that speaks volumes about who you are, and the man you are, and your character. And I really want the audience to know that you're a human being, that you have like a big heart, and you care about people. And as somebody that's been a beneficiary of that in some of the darkest days that any of us can imagine, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Vice President.
I appreciate that. It's good to see you guys, and obviously wish it was under slightly different circumstances, but yesterday was quite a celebration at the White House, Charlie's 32nd birthday. I'm sure it's true for you guys too. It still feels not real in some cases. I still occasionally will pick up the phone and think to myself, like, I wonder what Charlie thinks about this, or I wonder if Charlie could help me with this. But we're just going to keep on trucking on, man. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, to tell you a little backstory about just sort of this dignified transfer where Usha and I go out and pick up Charlie's body, pick up Erica, pick up some of you guys, and then take him back to Arizona. I mean, the background on that was I was sitting at the White House with then communications director. He has since, taken a job in the private sector, making a lot of money, I'm sure, Taylor Budowich, who is another dear friend of Charlie's. And, Mikey was actually communicating with Taylor directly. And so, this is a little gruesome, but right after Charlie gets shot, Mikey's like, we're at the hospital. Charlie's got a pulse. I'm sure you guys were getting the same messages.
I was talking with Taylor a little bit.
There was this sort of point of like optimism where it's like, oh my God, because you see the video, you think there's no way Charlie's going to make it, but you say, could this be a miraculous thing? And then, of course, Mikey was the one who had to make the call to Taylor and to me. I was actually in Stephen Miller's office with Taylor, and Mikey said, Charlie didn't make it. The doctors just called it. And that was obviously an incredibly hard moment. But then I was sitting with Taylor, and I was like, well, what do we do now? And Taylor actually had the idea of we should go out there. And I was like, that's an incredible idea. Like, I'd love to go out there, see Erica. But you also wonder, like, the Vice President of the United States, the Secret Service detail, the media, does it become too much of a spectacle? So I was like, reach out to Erica and like let her know. I'm not pushing, but if she wants me to come out there, we'd love to be out there and be supportive. And so he did that, and she, of course, was receptive. And then I actually had the idea. I texted my chief of staff. I was like, well, wait a second. If we're going to be out there, moving a dead body from one place to another is not necessarily like easy logistically. We have a big airplane, and if we're going to fly from Utah to Phoenix anyway, we should offer. And he was like, yeah, I'll offer. I remember, I'll never forget my chief of staff saying, I doubt they'll accept. I'm sure they already have another plan, but we can offer. And then, of course, you guys accepted, and that led to that day, which, despite the grieving, was very special to be able to be part of that grieving process with the family and with all you guys. So it was a, this whole month has been so surreal for so many of us in so many ways. But that day really did set the tone for us in a lot of ways. I mean, one, so Usha had met, she had met Charlie before. Actually, the Claremont speech that I gave, that Charlie was really to. I mean, I remember he texted me afterwards. He was like, "That's your best speech you've ever given."
That was an amazing speech.
And I kept on looking in the audience, and there's Charlie sitting next to Usha. They were like in the front table, and that may have been the first time that Usha had spent like more than 5 or 10 minutes with Charlie. And but I don't think she had ever met Erica, but that, of course, was the point at which Usha was able to be there for Erica, and that cemented their bond, that created their bond. So it was, despite the sadness and the tragedy, it was a special day in a lot of ways, and I think set the tone for the next month, which has been us mourning Charlie, of course, thinking about Charlie, trying to keep Charlie's memory alive, and all of that, I think, really, at least for us, started on that day.
Well, you have done an amazing job, and you've been an incredible friend. I think, what I've realized in this process is that it's not just me grieving, it's not just Blake grieving or the team or Erica. The whole nation is grieving.
Yeah.
And so as you've come alongside us, you've almost, I think, symbolically come alongside the entire nation, and knowing that your steady leadership and your carrying hand is alongside Erica and us and the whole team has been, I think, a lift for the entire nation, genuinely,
I appreciate that.
and the world, really, because Charlie's message we've seen has spread across the entire world. And on that note of you coming alongside us, we do have a little bit of news.
That's right.
To break.
Big announcement.
Yeah, big announcement. Do you want me or you?
No, go ahead, man.
All right. Well, so you are actually going to be joining Erica Kirk on our campus tour. This is going to be a big one. Big one. At Ole Miss. If you could throw the graphic up there, guys. 179. Throw the graphic up. There it is. So Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance and at Ole Miss. And correct me if I'm wrong. Will's going to get mad at me here. That's October 29th, I believe, at Ole Miss, Oxford, Mississippi. And we also, the other pictures you see on that graphic are going to be Benny Johnson, Lara Trump, Eric Trump. They're going to be at Auburn on November 5th. So the 1-year anniversary of the big win. But you guys are going to be in Ole Miss together.
Yep.
And it's going to be Erica's only appearance on the tour. I mean, we really, we thought about suggesting to her to do more, and it's just, she needs time. She still needs time.
She does.
But she wanted to make it a priority to be at this one, and you're making it a priority to be at this one. There's going to be like 9,000 or 10,000 people in the arena there. So it's a huge deal. Please tell us your perspective on this.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And one of the things I said to you and to others, as you know, privately, is I was like, well, part of keeping Charlie's memory alive is keeping the mission alive. And nobody can replace Charlie. But if we all sort of take little pieces, we can do as much as we can to ensure that Charlie's mission continues to survive long after he's gone. And part of that is these college campus tours, right? And I'm going to do exactly what Charlie did. My plan is to, give a little speech, talk a little bit about the issues of the day, but turn most of it over to just do Q&A with the audience. I actually want to hear from these kids. I want to answer questions from them. I want to do what Charlie did, because I think that engagement is something that was such a big part of Charlie's legacy. It's not just that he went and talked to people or talked about issues that he cared about. It's that he actually interacted with people, and he answered questions. Sometimes, as you know, he answered tough questions. He would answer tough questions from the left and from the right. And so I want to do that too. And of course, having Erica there is very special. I am glad that she's not doing all of them, because she's obviously got a lot to deal with. She's grieving more than any of us are. She's taking care of 2 beautiful kids, but it'll be very special to have her there. And actually, it's interesting. I mean, any of you who have known somebody who's grieving somebody that they love very much, know that it comes in hills and valleys, right? Some days it's like the worst day imaginable. Some days you actually feel like you're doing okay. And Erica's been staying with us the last few days at the Naval Observatory, actually, and you sort of see it all, right? There are days where you think she's doing pretty well. There are days where you think she's doing terribly, and that's just the process. And I hope that she continues to kind of, yes, keep Charlie's mission alive, and yes, do everything that you guys are doing at Turning Points USA. But I also hope that she continues to grieve a little bit and to carve out some time for her and her family. A buddy of mine. I didn't mean to talk about this, but I'm gonna say it. But a buddy of mine, this is what drives home how angry I get at the people celebrating Charlie's death, and how really one-sided it is that you have people actually celebrating the murder of a dear friend, of a guy who was a leader to so many people. But I was talking to another mutual friend, actually. He was the guy sitting to my left at dinner a couple of nights ago at the vice president's residence. So I won't reveal who it was publicly, but he told me that he had called Erica about a week or so after Charlie died, and he could hear Charlie's daughter say, "Where's Daddy?" like 6 times during this very brief phone call. And I think all of us have had these moments where, yes, we love Charlie and we loved his ideas and we loved what an important voice he was. He's a necessary part. It says the White House right behind you guys, right? We're right here at the White House complex. We wouldn't be here without Charlie. But most tragically, they took a very loving husband away from a wife, and they took a very loving father away from 2 kids. And that is, to me, the great tragedy of this moment. We can't forget that.
Yeah, I mean, what Erica said in her speech yesterday about the birthday wish for, that
That
Gigi had.
that was the one point where I lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. And I think I looked around and gosh, I mean, people have seen some of the images of who was in that crowd. I looked around at the most powerful people in the country, which means they're probably some of the most powerful people in the world. And we all kind of just lost it. And, it was a really powerful and moving speech by Erica. I think, Dana Perino, I think we have the clip, we don't need to play it, but Dana Perino from Fox said she's one of the greatest orators of a generation. And I she's given 3 speeches now.
Yeah.
And each one is in my top 10
Yeah.
of speeches the whole way through. Blake,
And
I don't know.
they're all pretty different too. They hit on
Yeah.
different themes. This was, I think, arguably the most personal one in terms of talking about, talking about his birthday habits and stuff.
It was very philosophical, like the
Yeah,
meaning of
and that
freedom.
too,
I thought
the
that was
meaning
very
of freedom.
interesting.
Really dwelled on it, and and it's all her. I helped her prepare for it, but everything that was in that speech was what she wanted to say, how she said it.
Yeah.
And just tremendous how well delivered it was, how well it communicated,
And
what he meant to her, and also what Charlie meant to America.
people want to know how Erica's doing, and
Yeah.
you've touched on it because she's been staying with you at your guys' the Naval Observatory. But she is so strong and clear-eyed. Charlie, and when President Trump was talking about that story about you're gonna love it, Erica, Mr. President, she's so smart, and she really is very smart, and she's so human and caring. But you touched on something else, Mr. Vice President, about this rise in sort of like the celebration of Charlie's murder and
Yeah.
assassination, and this rise of left-wing violence. And you said it on the show the Monday after he was assassinated. You hosted this show, and you said, we want unity, but we also want truth. Maybe just really touch on that before we hit this first break and what you meant by that.
Yeah, I just meant that real unity comes from acknowledging the reality of the situation that we're in, right? Unity requires everybody being on the same page, having some commonality of values, and real unity requires us to acknowledge the fact that while, yes, there are crazies on both sides, we have a country of 330 million people, you're going to be able to find crazies on either side. Political violence is just a statistical fact. It's a bigger problem on the left. And if you had, God forbid, somebody on the left who was assassinated, I'm sure that you could find one person who would maybe celebrate it or one person who would be offensive. But the fact that it became mainstream to celebrate Charlie's death, to talk about the fact that he maybe deserved to die because he had said hateful things like, we don't want women playing, or we don't want men playing in women's sports. Just the effort to try to justify his murder, to lie about things that he had said, so as to justify his killing, it was just really disgusting and really disgraceful. And one of the things that we just have to, I want our country to be unified again. I really do. I mean, I'm the Vice President of the United States. I really do feel like I represent every single person, even the people who say disgusting things. But if we're going to have real unity in this country, we're all going to have to acknowledge that killing people for what they think and what they believe is wrong. And right now, that violent impulse is a bigger problem on the left than the right.
She said, "Happy birthday, Daddy. I want to give you a stuffed animal. I want you to eat a cupcake with ice cream. And I want you to go have a birthday surprise."
Yeah, the team flagged that clip that we had it ready to go, and it really brings it all home. And I know you had such a close personal friendship with Charlie, as did we, and I think it ties into what you were just saying, Mr. Vice President, that if we cannot get unanimity around the fact that killing people for their ideas is horrendous and awful and un-American and bad and has no place here, what are we even doing?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the only way to get unanimity around that fact is to acknowledge that we do have a problem. First sort of acknowledge the problem. That's, a cliche at this point. But you have to acknowledge the problem before you can actually solve it. And right now, you have a number of people who actually think words are violence. And if words are violence, then one reasonable response to people saying things you don't like is to kill them. And we have to just completely reject that in the United States of America. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get out there to Ole Miss to go and do this, because I think that engagement really matters. And it's not most people, right? This is the good news. It's not most people who think that Charlie, meaning most people on the left who think that Charlie deserved to die because they said something that they had disagreed with or that they even found offensive. But it is a large enough and powerful enough minority it's pretty well funded. There's a lot of resources behind it. There are a lot of powerful media voices behind it. And it is, I think, the most significant domestic problem we have in the United States of America is this justification of violence, which then, of course, leads to the real thing.
Yeah, and you talked about the funding networks. We had Secretary Scott Bessent on the show yesterday. Treasury's taking a leading role in this. He said he described Charlie's assassination as a domestic 9/11 of its own right, and the Treasury really got involved after 9/11 to find these funding sources that led to Al-Qaeda being able to pull off that horrendous attack. And so they're using some of those same systems and authorizations to go and root out the funding networks. Is there maybe anything, maybe just philosophically, anything you want to add to kind of what you maybe know what's going on there?
Well, I wouldn't even say philosophically, just a matter of practice. There is some muscle memory that we're trying to create within the federal government. And I'll just be blunt with you. There's this idea that exists, certainly not at the administration, not at the leadership level of the political appointees, but there is a group of federal law enforcement, what you might call the deep state, where they almost automatically assume that left-wing political violence is protected by the First Amendment and right-wing political violence is a crime. And you sort of see just that the basic muscle memory, the basic sort of apparatus of government is very, very primed at right-wing political violence, but the instinct is to almost say, well, no, that left-wing political violence, that's actually protected by the First Amendment. So no, political violence, wherever it comes from, is just not protected by the First Amendment. And because we have such a big problem with left-wing political violence, we have to train the investigatory and law enforcement powers of the government to focus on that particular problem. Now, I think Scott maybe has the most important part of this, because a lot of this is financial, right? If a brick gets thrown through a wall in a government building, who bought the brick? If somebody shows up and is a paid protester, but then that person goes and riots and commits an act of violence, who paid for it? If you have an application that's helping people hunt down or even avoid law enforcement officers,
Yes.
if you're helping immigrants avoid illegal immigrants avoid ICE enforcement, but you're helping people actually target the law enforcement officers who are trying to enforce our immigration laws, well, who's paying for the hosting there? Who's paying for the programming?
Yeah.
There's an entire financial element of this, but we really have to retrain the entire government to focus on this left-wing violence problem. We're doing it. It's going to go a little bit more slowly than we'd like, but we are doing it.
You're making a little bit of news here yesterday on X, formerly known as Twitter, about this Politico story, but I think it ties in because we're talking about the celebratory nature of some, not many, maybe not most, but some, and it was disgusting about Charlie's assassination. There is a story, and I believe the two stories are connected, that came out of Politico yesterday. Blake, explain this for our audience, for those who don't know.
We don't need to wallow in it too much, but so Politico has a story where somehow they got their hands on something like 28,000 messages in some group chat of, I think, 12 people that nobody's ever heard of, but they decided to just publish every single thing in this chat, whatever they found that they thought was the most salacious. And I think 10 years ago, there would have been a very different response to it. But people are starting to learn from this, and the vice president is one of the reasons why. So you tweeted this. This is far worse than... So what you did is, instead of reacting to the story itself, you just posted what Jay Jones, our friend in Virginia who's running for AG as the Democrat, had said, where he wanted his political opponents to die, and then when someone thought he might be kidding, he called to make it clear, actually it wasn't a joke, I was serious. That's how people change their mind. And you just pointed out, quote, this is far worse than anything said in any college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. And we have 14 million views on that.
Yeah.
And
Just a little viral, Mr. Vice President.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll let the tweet speak for itself. I'll say a couple of additional things. First of all, a person who is very politically powerful, who is about to become one of the most powerful law enforcement officers in the country, that person seriously wishing for political violence and political assassination is 1,000 times worse than what a bunch of young people, a bunch of kids say in a group chat, however offensive it might be. That's just reality. And if you allow yourself to be distracted by this person's incredible endorsement, disgusting endorsement of political assassination, by focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat. Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like, I'm going to tell my kids, especially my boys, don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it in an effort to try to cause you harm or cause your family harm. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And at some point, we're all going to have to say, enough of this BS. We're not going to allow the worst moment in a 21-year-old's group chat to ruin a kid's life for the rest of time. That's just not okay. Like, we live in a digital world. This stuff is now etched in stone online. We're all going to have to say, you know what? No. We're not doing this. We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat. And if I have to be the person who carries that message forward, I'm fine with it. And by the way, if they were left-wing kids telling stupid left-wing jokes, I would also not want their lives to be ruined because they're saying something stupid in a private group chat.
Well, you and Charlie shared that, by the way.
Yeah.
He became, because he had so many young people at Turning Point that were working for him that did stupid things from time to time, and he would refuse to start engaging in the pearl clutching, and especially in this moment where we've seen people celebrating Charlie's murder.
Yes.
And there's been zero outrage, as far as I can tell from Politico or others, about something so vile as that. I'm still so disgusted that this is like something that we've put up with as a country.
Yep.
Mr. Vice President, final minute to you, whatever you want to expound upon. Say something interesting.
That's always dangerous.
Yeah.
Give a politician a free microphone for a minute. But I guess look, I'm so proud of you guys. I think you're doing a great job. I know it's very hard to grieve for a friend, but also to try to carry on an impossibly large legacy. I'm here to support you guys while you're doing it. Yeah, I will just say that for all of the negativity and the hate and the people celebrating Charlie's assassination, for every one negative moment, I've had 1,000 positive moments in the past month. I've had people who've come up to me who said, I went back to church because Charlie got shot. I've had people come up and say that they listened to his clips for the first time, didn't even know who he was, especially like older people who didn't know who he was before he was killed, but now they're consuming his video content and learning from it, getting back to their faith. I just remember there's a lot of love out there, and we should remember that for all of the hate out there, there's 10 times as much love. I think that's has to be our charge as we move forward and carry on Charlie's legacy.